we're all in the right room, right? This is human physiology. I'm Dr. Wayne. For those of you who think we're having a 5-minute lecture today, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I get us out of here in about an hour and 20 minutes on the first day because I like to take time off at the end of the semester when we're all tired. All right. This is the basic information for the course. Obviously, you're in the right place, SW102. This is the classroom. My office is in the Science and Research Building 2. If you don't know what that is the brown, ugly building above the UC Underground, just over there. Okay? I'm on the second floor. 221G is my office. That's on the side of the basketball courts, not the side facing the UC Underground. If you want to contact me, you can call me. My number is right up there. If you call and get my voicemail, do not leave a message. I don't check my voicemail. I have 3 years of voicemail messages that I've never checked. And the reason I don't check my voicemail is because you like to call me, not you particularly, but students like to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday thinking for some reason that I must be in the office. And some sort of problem solve at 2 o'clock in the morning because they're tired. And they figured it out Sunday, so by the time I call them on Monday, oh, I figured it all out. So I said, I'm not going to respond to voicemails. So if you have something that you need to get in touch with me as quick as possible, and you can use my phone, email me. I usually respond to emails within 5 minutes of me reading it. All right? Usually I read it and then I respond right away. So email me if you have to get in touch with me immediately or you need a response immediately. If I answer the phone, great. I'll talk to you and just be fine. Come and see me. My office hours are Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 2 o'clock. Best time to see me is towards the 12:30 side. See me is towards the 2 o'clock side. Our class, or the classes I teach, both of them are at 2:30. That means by 2 o'clock I've stopped listening and I'm now focusing on what I have to teach about. That doesn't mean if you're there in front of me and I'm talking to you, I'm focusing on you. But usually that means if you come in at 2 o'clock, I'm going to look at you and go, okay, yeah, You could ask me about anything. I'm going to nod my head and say, Doesn't mean I'll agree with it. That's what I'm going to be doing. We have a textbook. I recommend the textbook. I don't require a textbook. I know textbooks cost $1,003 nowadays. So if you don't want to buy a textbook, that's fine. This is the textbook. This is what it looks like. It's Human Physiology. It's the 5th edition by Silverthorne. A bunch of neurons on the cover. If you want a 4th edition, fine. 3rd edition, fine. If you find the 2nd edition, you might want to go and take it on the Antique Roadshow. If you want to use another edition of another textbook, another human physiology textbook, that's fine as well. Textbooks are good resources, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when you're trying to study for an exam on a Monday and you can't get in touch with me because, remember, I don't answer my phone. That's where you're going to go and look for questions or answers. Of course, you could probably, nowadays with the internet, you could go hit up Wikipedia and find out all the information you know. You could probably put in the words and find out whatever you need to know. But this is the book that you're probably going to carry with you when you go on to medical school, dental school, pharmacy school, optometry school, physical therapy school. Did I miss any? Because you guys are all here because you are pre-blank. Most of you. No, not all you are. But anyway, so having a textbook like this is helpful because it's a resource that you can go to. But if you don't want to spend the $170, that's good. That's fine. I'm not going to chastise you. My lectures typically follow this textbook, though. All right? To make it easy for you. I don't like to jump around on nice, simple, easy things. So if you're going to buy a textbook, I recommend this one. Any edition is just fine. And like I said, Sherwood is actually a very, very good textbook. I think she reads easier than this one. If you have a cell phone, please put it on buzzer. At this point, if you have iPods or iPhones, right? It's that little switch on the side. Just buzz and make you feel good. All right? Cell phones are just interruptive. Makes me lose my train of thought. Makes me wonder what you're talking about. Can we get in the conversation too? So anything that's going to make noises, kind of just turn them off for the remainder of the class. That'd be great. Stuff you actually care about. We have our exams. I have 4 exams. My exams are non-cumulative. Biology is a cumulative course in general. So what you learn at the beginning is something you're going to apply at the end. If you don't understand the stuff at the beginning, you're going to have a hard time understanding the stuff at the end. There's no point in me testing you stuff that you learned at the beginning in the 4th exam. So I'm not going to do anything that's cumulative. Whew, right? Except you have to know it. All right. 4 exams. First one is February 8th. That's 3 weeks, 4 weeks away. Followed by March 3rd, which is right before a spring break, April 7th, and then our finals on May 10th. All of my exams, which you probably read about or heard about from somebody, suck. Right? Yeah, see, the people who have actually asked their friends, what's he like? His exams suck. Yeah. Now, the 50 questions, multiple choice, there's a couple of false questions in there to speed everything up. You have 60 minutes to take the exam. We take our exams at CASA. Each exam is worth 100 points. I do not drop tests. If you studied even a minute for one of my tests, that is valuable time that I used that you could have done something else. So if I drop a test, it becomes devalued. Your time becomes worthless, right? If you invested time in a test, it becomes worthless, right? So I don't want to devalue your time. If you study, you're going to get a point. So try to actually do well in the exams, all right? So my tests are non-cumulative. We go through CASA. If you don't know what CASA is, we'll get to that in a moment. If you know what CASA is, you know what CASA is, make sure it is for a previous course. You have no problem. Sign up for exams about 2 weeks beforehand. On the days that we have exams, we don't come here. You go to CASA. If you come here, you'll be lonely. I promise. All right? So, how does CASA work? Well, the best thing to do is to read a fact. If you've never taken an exam at CASA, the website, casa.edu, they have frequently asked questions. The list will figure it all out. But in essence, what you have to do is just register for the course. It's simple. What you do is, once you log in, you'll select a project exam. These will pop up 2 weeks before the actual exam date. First exam's February 8th. We'll subtract 14. Midnight on that 14th day is when those exams open up. For those of you who like to take your exams at 6 o'clock in the evening, do you think 174 of you are going to be online at midnight, sitting there pressing the button, desperately trying to get that 6 o'clock site? Yes. So, find the time that works best for you. Be considerate to other people. All right? You can't be guaranteed a spot for the time that you want. So if you have 3 exams on one day, figure out what is the best time for you to take the exam. All right? I can't work with CASA. CASA is run by the math department. CASA is its own entity. I answer to them. They don't answer to me. So I can't tell them to change the schedule, get you in a particular slot. Oh my God, I missed my exam. I can't do any of that stuff. I can't call over CASA and boss them around. So the best thing for you to do is show up at least 30 minutes before your actual exam time. If you before 1 o'clock, get there at 12:30. How many here are from Houston? Look at that. How many of you guys here have how many of you here have been someplace on time and found that you're 45 minutes late? There you go. Think ahead. All right? Yes, we have to recognize that on test days, Murphy's Law comes into play. That's when that accident on 610 blocks traffic for weeks. That's when your tire is going to blow out 7 blocks from home. All right? It's when your dog is going to, I don't know, chew up all your underwear and then call you bad names on the internet. Something bad is going to happen on the exam day. So make sure you plan for that. All right? There was a time when there were wait lists. So I don't even know why I put this up here now. I guess a couple of you were still around when they had the wait list. But some Yahoo decided to get angry at the people at CASA and cause a big fit, which caused the U of H police to show up. At that point, they said, you know what, this isn't worth our time or effort. And so they're no longer wait lists. If you miss your slot, you miss your slot. You can always contact me, and I can try to get you to take a paper exam over at my office. I can't always guarantee that's going to work, especially at 6 o'clock in the evening when you're on campus. Don't miss your exams, all right? Don't come crying to me, all right? Take your exam, get an A. I like A's. I want 174 A's. I assume there's 174 people. When I last checked my roster, there were 174 people in the class. It might be bigger now. But I want all A's in the class. If you have questions about CASA, go onto the website. They have a fact there. They have work studies over there who will refuse to answer your questions. Whatever you need to do. Also, I put on VNet, which I'll get to in a second, I even posted their FAQ in a different document if you need to pull it down and you can't find it on the CASA website. You need to know your drop dates and all the other dates that you need to be aware of. Last day to drop this course with no grade is February 2nd. That's the last day U of H doesn't get your money. After February 2nd, you've lost your money for the course. All right? Last day to drop the class with a W. In other words, if you're feeling like you're just not going to cut it and you want to just take your money or basically take that W and run, April 5th. Unfortunately, that falls one class, two classes, or the third exam. So you have to base your decision on 2 exams, which kind of that gamble. All right. Don't lie, cheat, or steal. That's just good policy in general. All right. If you have a disability, you have we try to take care of you, support through ADA. In other words, if you have some sort of issue, you can contact CSD. We will try to accommodate you. This includes anything from blindness and hearing through just about any disability you can come up with. So if you need, if you have a disability that needs to be taken care of, we'll try to accommodate you through that. And if you have any questions about anything, obviously go to the website and use the search engine. You don't have to write down all these little things. I mean, it's easier just to type in last day to drop, academic calendar, and it'll pop up and easy to find. Now, on Thursday last week, I emailed 150 of you. This morning I came into work and there was 174 of you. So 24 of you at least don't know what I'm going to be talking about through all this stuff. VNet, vnet.uh.edu. Most of you at this point have taken a class that has VNet, right? I mean, maybe a couple of you have not, don't know what VNet is, are just totally clueless. Basically, this is the place where I put all my documents on. You can find my syllabus there, general policies about the course, and all the other leads that I have to include. All the lectures that I present in class are posted beforehand. You can download this unit. I have 200 some odd slides for the next 6 lectures. Download those. I record all my lectures. That's what the little thing here is for. And when this fails, I have the previous semester's lecture available online so that you can listen to that. All right. So I have those videos and then any other document that you're going to need. You can kind of go through and see what you want to download and what you don't want to download. In order to get on VNet, you have to register yourself. Of the 174 people from this morning who are in my class, 5 of you do not have a VNet account. That's impressive. All right. So if you do not have a VNet account, if you can't access the material, you can contact me. If you have problems accessing VNet and you have a VNet account, don't contact me. Contact VNet. I can't do anything again. That's a different department. That's their email address. That's their phone number. They're very helpful. And if you don't want to go talk to them in person, they're in SR1. It's a big ugly brown building next to the small ugly brown building that I'm in. They're on the 2nd floor. They're really easy to find, and they're very helpful. All right. They'll solve your problems. Lastly, I'm part of a group of professors who try to support and promote a whole bunch of things that are going on here at U of H. Bet you guys didn't know there's a lot of stuff other than classes going on here. Did you know that? Some of you, yeah, there's sports. Yeah, that's, you know, got an NCAA tournament. Conferences coming up. But let's say, just for the sake of argument, on February 14th, guys, you have figured out that it's actually an important day for your girlfriend. I hear the girls laughing because, well, they can already picture what's going to happen. All right. You can find on this website plays, performances, sporting events, other factoids. How many of you got the email today from the university? Tier 1 status from the Carnegie Institute? Not bad. All right. So little factoids like that are going to be posted there. All you got to do is just go to that website. Notice it's a secure HTTP, so you have to put in the S. But just go there and post it that are going on for the week. you ever missed a female softball game? 1, 2 people. 3, 4. Okay, see, should be 174. Now, how many of you have been to football? Look at that. You know, and it's cheaper to get into those games. And they're a lot more fun. So, if you want to check out something like that, go to this website. Every now and then, if I see something really interesting, I'll post it up there. There's usually something pretty cool going on. So, before we go and get into this, I always present this every semester. Are there any questions? I know you guys are going to ask me at least one question about exams. No. Grading systems. There we go. No. That's a question. Is there extra credit? No. And I'll tell you why. Because the time that you can spend doing the extra credit that I want you to do, you could spend time studying and doing better. All right? But that's not the question. Usually, at least 3 people raise their hands. About the gradings. Grades. Yeah. Okay. About the test. Go ahead. Well, that's kind of the grading question. But you're the one person. See, no one else asked that question. Do I curve? The answer is, I don't like curving. Now, when do I curve? At the end of the semester. Don't curve on every exam. All right? I'll tell you now, I shoot for an average of 65 on every. Is that scary? Dun, dun, dun. Don't get trapped with numbers. Your job as students are not to worry about numbers or worry about grades. I'll be the first professor to ever tell you that. All right? Your job is to worry about material. My job is to worry about grades. Okay? You learn the material, your grades are going to follow. All right? Don't sit there and try to. And the reason why I hate curves is because you try to game the system. Oh, well, he's going to shift. And if I'm right here, and if I just get this grade. In a curve system, each one of you are pitted against each other. Doesn't that sound fun? Your grade is dependent upon 173 other grades. Yeah. And here's the really fun part. If you guys try to conspire with one another, say, oh, we're going to bring the grades down. Yeah, everyone, don't study. He's going to curve in the end. Guess what? There are 10% of the people in this classroom who are always A students, and they'll nod their heads and smile at you and say, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then they won't do that. And then what happens to the curve? It gets blown. All right? So really the goal is I curve for the sake of the distribution. All right? I don't curve to make numbers look nice. If I shoot for a 65, I don't want numbers bunched up here at the top. I'm trying to figure out how to separate out that top so we can actually recognize to the top 10%. If we have a whole bunch of hundreds, that always feels good, doesn't it? 100%, yeah, it feels good. But the problem is if you have 20 hundreds, which of the hundreds are really the top 10 people? So that's why I kind of shoot the average down a little bit lower. So what you shouldn't be doing is focusing on numbers. You should be focusing on learning the material. And that leads us into this, unless there are any other questions about any of the things that I've rambled on about here. All right. Now, I present this every semester. And the reason I present how to study and prepare for exams every semester is because when I first started teaching here, I spent 75% of my time in my office talking to individual students on how to prepare and study for exams. Because the problem is that our education system is in dire need of help. How many of you guys, when you graduated from high school with A's and your B's, had no clue how to study? Have you ever spent? I mean, come on. I can raise my hand. I graduated from high school back when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth. You know. The fact is that we're never challenged in high school. All right. And most of you here are juniors and seniors, so you've been going through college. You know. And you've been working pretty hard. But, like I said, a majority of you, and I already know, I mean, we can do the raise your hand. How many of you guys are pre-med? Come on, don't be surprised. You see, raising hands is a good thing in my class. I like interaction. How many of you pre-dent? Pre-farm? See, look at this. I mean, and these are the people who actually are brave enough to raise their hand. Pre-optometry. How many of you went on physical therapy? Nursing. You know, I mean, see, we're getting lower and lower, and then, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing to laugh at. I mean, these are the guys who are going to have jobs when everyone else is out of jobs. Right? I mean, there's a whole gamut. How many of you are actually planning on going into the biological sciences to do research in the future? I mean, 3 people. I mean, that's actually out of the ordinary for one of my classes. Kudos to you guys. All right. Problem is that you guys are planning on going into a professional career where you're going to be competing with the best of the best. And I'm here to make you the bestest of the best. Well, I can't make you do anything, but I can give you some tips and hints. All right? Because the problem is as we move forward, and for those of you who are foreign students, and I use at least 1 or 2, the American system is very, very different. We like to test multiple choice, multiple guess type questions. That's what you're going to see your boards are going to look like. That's what all your exams in your professional schools are going to look like. That's what the MCAT and the OATS and the DAT look like. They're all horrible types of exams. So you got to know how to deal with them. The other thing is you're going to be given massive amounts of information. You're going to feel like it, and after a while it'll just become a little hat. But like the first couple of days, you're just going to look at this and I can't believe he's asking this, all this stuff. All right. And I'm nothing compared to medical school, dental school, and so on. All right. So I want to kind of give you guys a leg up. So these are some tips that I've learned in the course of time. And I'm not going to pretend for a moment that I was a top student in college. I went to Tulane University. All right. I graduated with like a 3.2 or a 3.3. I can't even remember at this point. It's been so long ago. All right. But I was a slacker. I was the king of slacking. See that back row back there? That's where I sat. And usually I sat in that back row with my eyes in this position. All right? Now, I'm a smart person, and I don't say that in a bragging sort of sense. I mean, I have capabilities. I've always been real well. You know, whenever someone kind of can probe you and stick you and do the testing, I always tested real well. But I was a lazy student, bored out of my skull because you usually have some press up here. Okay, and what we have here today, you'll feel like that in about 20 minutes. All right. You know, and also I could get away with sleeping through classes. All right. I knew enough, and I could study just to be satisfied with that B+. You know, so I didn't really have good skills. Now, both my parents are high achievers, and I drove them nuts. I drove every teacher I had nuts. Why aren't you doing the best? Well, because I thought there were much more fun things to be doing than studying. And who would agree with me with that? If you had a choice between studying and going out, oh, I don't know, clubbing. Clubbing would win. Root canals. Just about anything is more fun than studying. But then I got to graduate school. All right, after, worked my way through, and, like I said, I didn't graduate with bad grades. I mean, I did just fine. I wasn't the top of my class. Well, the very first thing they did is they came into our first class, was biochemistry, and they came with a big stack of papers like this. To all of us and said, this is what you're going to need to know for the first exam. And I looked at that and I said, I don't think I can BS my way through that. And so I had to go back and I had to consider all the things that everyone had ever taught me about studying. And I had to say, all right, well, let me figure this stuff out. How can I go about having the lifestyle that I learned to live throughout college? Because remember, I went to Tulane. I mean, this is New Orleans. This is Party Central. Fun, fun, fun. All right. How can I live like this, yet learn all this stuff over here? Well, learning how to study is really basically just about time management. And, you're going to, half of you are already tuning me out. And I know the reason why you're tuning me out, because you're still this stuff and we can get out of here. But I'm telling you, you're going to see that the things are the things that are going to make you the better student. grades go up. All right. First off, never wait until the last minute. And that seems really, really obvious. But there's actual scientific evidence that suggests this. Now, I made up this graph over here, but it's similar to what the actual research was done. I couldn't find the original paper. All right. But what this group did, they took a bunch of medical students, and they didn't tell them what they were going to do, but they gave them a bunch of information and said, we are going to test you in 7 days. The medical students said, okay, sure, that sounds fine. But they didn't tell them that they're going to quiz them every day. And so what they pulled medical students aside and said, okay, here's a pop quiz. And so they had separated the group out into a group. They said, we just want you to study 10 minutes a night. Group number 2, just study the night before the exam. We're going to see how well people do on that last exam. And then they threw in the pop quiz. And what you see here is basically the performance of the people who studied just 10 minutes a night versus the people who studied to the last minute. And this is retention versus time. Our brains work in a way that repetition becomes very, very important. Anyone here ever dealt with a 3-year-old? I have 2 3-year-olds who are going on 4. What do 3-year-olds do? They repeat things over and over again. Why? 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 Because I said so. Why do you say so?
Ask your mother.
Huh?
Ask your mother.
Yeah, ask your mother. Why do I ask my mother? All right. The reason they do that is because they're already hardwired the way that you're hardwired. They are repeating because that's the way they learn. By studying just a short period of time, once you're exposed to information, it's going to have you retain it far better than you would if you didn't look at it, where it became absolutely necessary to actually have that. Just as an example, guys, you'll be able to relate. Well, most of you won't be able to relate because we're now in the age of cell phones. But there was a time when we'd go and meet a really, really good-looking girl, and she'd give us our phone number. I don't know why. Give us your phone number. No pins. Crap. 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shut up. 5, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 1, 2. And you knew that's the number. Repetition. All right? Repetition is an invaluable thing to do. All right? So, how do we go about repeating things? Well, first off, I don't recommend this for everybody. But if you have a hard time learning material, first thing you do is before class, read the textbook or look at the notes. I'm not talking about spending 45 minutes to an hour reading a textbook and trying to take all your notes and coming to class 100% prepared. Read it so that you become aware of what's going to be talked about during class. All right? You become familiar with the terms. You know where the class is actually going to be going. You've already prepared yourself for what's coming up. So that's the first thing. So when you're actually in class, you're no longer sitting there going, oh my God, I can't keep up with him as he's talking. All right? The last thing you want to do, or the second thing you want to do, I guess, after class, the first chance you get is to sit down and condense them. To go over notes before you absolutely just call it. Now that's the thing I learned. All right? Like I said, I got that big giant just from biochem. And one of the things I used to do is I used to watch 2 episodes of The Simpsons. You know, indication they were back to back. I think I've seen every Simpsons episode like 1,000,000 times. And I'm sitting there going, all right, what? Bring out now. Oh. I've seen 1,000 times. Let me just blow it off. I don't need this. Besides, there's another one right after it. So I took that 30-minute block and I said, everything that I learned today, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to condense down in this 30-minute period of time. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to focus on this and I'm going to get done. In 30 minutes, I go over basically all the lecture material that I've actually covered. So you go over your notes. Now, when you do this, what ends up happening is that you end up freeing up time. And I'll give you an example of this in just a moment. In other words, what you're going to want to do is you don't want to understudy, because understudying really messes you up. And if you overstudy, you just take away time away from things that you could be doing which you'd rather be doing in the right? How many of you have ever gotten that phone call? We're all going out, we're having fun. I can't go, I'm studying. Yeah? Wouldn't it be cool if you're the one giving the phone call? Hey, I'm done studying, let's go out. I can't go out, I'm studying. Ah! Fine. So what this means is that there's an actual way to go over your notes. Now, this is the biggest thing I see. Most people take the slides, they've taken their notes on, and what they do is they take those notes that they've been so diligent taking, and then they sit there and they start flipping and reading through them. Yep, just flipping and reading through. And they the CMI course, and they come after the first exam. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Talked about the first day of class. Yeah, but don't just read the notes. That will guarantee you'll see in the class. Now, C is not a bad grade. I'm going to be the first professor who's going to tell you this too. A C means I perform with satisfaction. Of course, with satisfaction. Now, I know you can't go home to your parents and say, guess what I got? They're going to look at you and they're going to tisk you and then say, but I'm telling you, it's not a grade that we want to achieve, but it's not a grade to be disappointed with. All right? I know that we all hide. So, how do we get better at C? Well, first, create your own notes. All the slides that I've written and are showing up here, these are notes to myself. Watch while I'm listening. What do I do? Oh yeah, this is what I need to talk about. All right? They're notes to me. They're not notes to you. You take your own notes. You find out what's important for yourself. Now, obviously, I'm pointing out all the salient information, but the goal is I've written this so that I understand it. What you need to do is you need to identify what's important within the notes that I've created, the notes that you've created, figure out what's important, figure out what are the subtopics of each of these things, and then find out the important details. Now, that sounds like a daunting task, but it really isn't that difficult if you think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish in a classroom. When you walk into a classroom, most of you are walking in, okay, I got to go to class today, sit down, listen, get up out of class, and then you're gone. But what you need to do is you need to ask, why did that professor waste an hour and a half of my time? What was he trying to say or she trying to say? There should be a point to the lecture. What was the goal of the lecture? Now, obviously, the goal of the lecture right now is to learn how to study. And so there might be some sub-points. All right? You'll see throughout the course, we're going to say, I'll walk into class. Today's lecture is about blank. That's how you always ask, what was the point of today's lecture? Oh, I was learning about the digestive system. Great. What is the digestive system? It always leads to the question. What are the parts of the digestive system? What do they do? And these are the subtopics. Oh, the mouth is part of the digestive system. What's in the mouth? What does it do? The teeth, oh, it's for mastication, to break the food apart. Great. There's amylase. What is amylase? Enzyme that breaks sugars. See, what happens is you end up with a knowledge pyramid. Big topics, subtopics, sub-details, sub-sub-details, sub-sub-sub-sub-sub-details. The way you guys, or most of you guys, study, or been taught study, is you start here at the bottom of the pyramid, and you try to look at a whole bunch of different facts like it's Trivial Pursuit. And then what happens is you go into the exam and you say, oh, I recognize that. I remember seeing that word, but I have no idea what it's connected to. And so that's when the exams become tricky, right? You ever taken a multiple? His exam was tricky. He used words I've seen before. I know that was in the lecture. All right? If you focus from the top down, you're going to see how everything's interconnected. The beauty of biology is there's not a lot of differences. We just are going to be moving from system to system, and we're going to see how everything is interconnected. So you can see how a detail over here is connected to a detail over here, even though if you look at the big giant pyramid, they're at the very far ends of the pyramid. And I know it's a wonky detail. So here's a little example. I have something over here. 4 different topics. The way my lectures are structured is usually 30 slides per lecture, plus or minus. All right. One topic will take up maybe 3 or 4 slides. What that means is you can go, oh, here's topic number 1, slide. Oh, here's topic number 2, slide. Oh, here's topic number 3, and then one more slide. And next thing you know, you got your list of things that you need to know for the lecture. All right. And then instead of, I've said word for word, what you got to do is you got to look at it and say, okay, what do I need to know about this topic? The mouth, for example. Oh, I need this. Put it in your own words. Make it make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, how are you going to learn it? All right. Identify the details, condense those slides into a few facts, summarize them in your own. Draw pictures. Remember, pictures are worth a 1,000 words. All right? Lists where you can create lists. Use abbreviations. Remember, this is about time management. You don't want to write out full sentences to yourself. You're not writing a book. You're writing notes because you want to get it done in a very small amount of period of time so you can go out and have fun. All right? So each lecture, 12 subtopics with a bunch of details. But structures are involved. The physiology. So every time you look at something, it does something. What does it do? And that's how you're going to be focusing on. So this is just kind of a briefly, don't rewrite everything on the slide. Put it in your own words. Find the important information and condense the information. Usually I tell people, take the 30 slides plus your own notes, condense it down to a page or two. If we have 6 lectures, 6 times 2 is 12 pages of notes. 6 lectures times 30 slides is 180 slides. Which would you rather study? 12 pages of notes, 180 slides. Because I know you guys are fixated on numbers. They both carry the same amount of information, but the 12 pages seems like it's a lot smaller, doesn't it? All right? And in the process, what are you doing? You're reviewing. You're doing the repetition I told you is helpful. All right? Don't rewrite everything verbatim because it's written in a language that you don't understand. Use your own vernacular. Use your own words and language. Explain the information to yourself. Be that crazy person sitting in the back of the library talking to themselves. That can be you. All right? Use examples you'll understand. I use lots of examples in my classroom. Things come up off the top of my head because I said, you know, this is like that they would understand. Use examples of your own. Say, what is it like? You know, it doesn't be something biological, it's something you see every day. Abbreviations and pictures are your friends. You can draw a picture faster than you can write a paragraph. All right? Now here's the kicker. Don't become unfocused. Remember, you have a goal. The goal is to go out and have fun. Right? When you're old like me, you'll get stuck inside. You'll hate older kids. You'll yell at people to get off your lawn. But when you're young, you can go out till 3 o'clock in the morning. Party woo. When you're unfocused, you're taking a 30-minute block and you're expanding it to 40 minutes, and 50 minutes, and 60 minutes, and 70, and 90, and 2. You know, how did you stay up studying? I was up till 4 a.m. studying last night. How much studying time do you think they really did? 30 minutes. Think about it. If they got the 30 minutes done, they could spend the rest of those 8 hours having fun. And you know what? This graduate, once I figured this stuff out, I was actually going out for beers and darts before exams. Now, I'm not talking the party woo. You know, it was relaxation time. It was, wow, an exam night is no different than any other night. I can actually do things that are fun. I don't have to sit here and panic because I'm saying a word I don't understand. I'm only going to study 15 minutes. You've got to get this done in 20 minutes. Turn off the cell phones. Turn off the TV. Ignore Facebook. Turn off your tweets. Who cares if someone's having a bowel movement? You know? Put the cell phone in the other room. You spend 30 minutes studying, the next thing you know. I mean, honestly, for an hour and a half long class, you should not spend more than 30 minutes studying again. I have students who come to me towards the end of the semester. I've listened to your lecture twice now. I went to the lecture, I took notes, and I've read all the information. So let's see, for this one lecture, you've gone to class 3 times. No. 30 minutes is all you need to go over the information one more time. Use your time wisely. Now, I put it here just as an example, and I'm not going to actually write anything on here, but I'm just going to show you an example because the digestive system is one of those systems that you can actually draw really quickly. You can do it for the heart, you could do it for the eye, you could do it for any system, but the digestive system is a massive system, right? It starts with the mouth, ends with the anus, and it's everything in between. It's a big giant tube. And I'll show you how fast you can actually draw this and get things going. You start with the mouth, it looks like that. You have there's a mouth, there's the esophagus, go down to the stomach. Here's your small intestine, turns into the large intestine. There's your anus. You can't forget the gallbladder, you can't forget the liver, you have the pancreas that's associated. And then what you do, so I mean that's the whole digestive system. That took me about 8 seconds plus my descriptives, right? And then what you do is, for example, you'd say, okay, well I've recognized here's my mouth, and then here's all the information I need to know about the mouth, and here is the esophagus, this is what I need to know about that. Here's my stomach, here's all the facts about the stomach that I need to know. Here's the small intestine, pancreas, plus all the enzymes, large intestine not much, liver, we talk a little bit about that, gallbladder we really don't talk about. And then that would be 1 page of notes worth 1 full lecture. And you could probably get that in 30 minutes. That's just an example. Do you have to have a beautiful drawing? No. You don't. And we'll get to the heart. And I mean, the heart is a real complex organ. It's I'm telling you, you don't have to make it more difficult than it is. All right. So 30 minutes, first chance after class. Why? Because it's fresh. All right. The words are not going to disappear from your mind. The sooner you do it, better. If you do it like right after class, let's see. I know most of you don't have like what would be a 6 o'clock class, right? You don't come on the campus, 4 o'clock you're out of class, and then you have that 6 o'clock class. You have to wait. But for those of you who do, that'd be to do it, right? Before you actually go to the next class. For those of you who are headed home, before you sit down for dinner, sit down and just get everything done. Most of you are taking 2 classes on Monday, Wednesday, 2 classes on Thursday. So you're classes on the same, just because you don't want to cross town. Fine. All right. But think about it. If you did this for every class, 30 minutes for every class, an hour of studying every night. That's all you have to do. Right? Review process. All right. All you're doing is you're reviewing. You're preparing yourself for the actual study time. When you study for the exam, remember, don't read the notes. What you're going to do is you're going to take all those notes that you've done up here, this prep time, you're going to rewrite them. But you're not going to rewrite them looking at them. You're going to turn them over. You're going to rewrite everything from memory. Now, why do we do this? Well, because it identifies what you know and what you don't know. What point is it to study things you don't know? Spinning your wheels again. Remember, efficiency is what we're working on here. All right? So what you want to do is you want to basically take this material and basically see what it is that you don't know, because you identify the things that you don't know, and that's what you're going to actually focus on. You compare your notes. This is what I wrote out the first time. This is what I wrote. Oh, I don't know anything. Rewrite all that information down. Why? Because rewriting stuff, when you write things down, you're doing repetition and you don't even know it. How many of you ever tried to write something without thinking about it? Have you? I mean, if you've ever worked really, really late at night on an English competition, write something thinking about it. Or if you're doing it with handwriting, it kind of just trails off and becomes this little squiggle line. Right? That's what you're trying to avoid. If you think about it, look at something on a page, you're thinking about it, you process it, that's repetition number 2. When you're writing out, this is what I am thinking. You're going over and over and over and over again. It's going to speed things up. You do this until you're 100% comfortable with this material. In other words, you've rewritten it so many times that it doesn't matter how you do it. You're going to see that information. You're going to understand it. Now, let me just put this into context for you. How many of you guys have ever studied the week before an exam, 8 hours a night for the same exam, and really, well, it's actually about 4 hours a night for the exam, and then the night before the exam, you're up until 4 in the morning, you study 8 hours. I mean, come on. All right. Am I off by a couple of hours? So we're basically looking at probably 8 hours, and then the 3 nights previous 4 hours each, so 12 hours, 20 hours. Does that sound about right? Give or take a couple hours. All right. What did I say? 6 exams or 6 lectures before the exam? Say 6 lectures times 30 minutes is 3 hours. Process here, the studying for the exam part, about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. 3 plus 2.5 is 5.5 hours. 5.5 versus 20. Who wants to do the 20 hours now? You spread it over a period of time. You've learned more information. You're getting better grades. You're beating out all those yahoos from Texas A&M and Texas who are taking all your slots in your schools. You're smarter, brighter, and better. I'm telling you, this is win. And I've had students come back to me who have gone on to medical school and said, Dr. Wayne, I'm using your method. Well, that's not my method. I'm just telling you about techniques that I know that work. All right? I've used your method. I'm getting A's in medical school. A's in all your classes. Had you been doing this since junior high? But no one taught us how to do this. So I'm teaching you how to do it. How do you know you're not ready? You're 100% comfortable with the information. Use your textbook as a resource when things don't make sense. You go directly to the section that you don't understand. You're sitting there looking at amylase and you're going, I don't know what this is. Oh, it's in the mouth. Flip over to the mouth. Go down. Oh, there's in the amylase. Oh, amylase. It digests carbohydrates. Oh, okay. I better write that. Carbohydrates, amylase. Cross out the carbohydrates. All right. Read only the section. You don't have to read a whole chapter of a book to understand one little thing you don't understand. Last thing, ask questions. Don't let anything complex trip you up. There's nothing in this class that you haven't learned already in life. We're just putting big, ugly, scary names on things. Because this is biology, and that's what biologists do. Let's see how we can confuse students by giving them a long, complex name. No, that's not really what we're doing. We're using words to describe things, all right? Ask questions in class. Now, I've already had the exercise of everyone raising their head. Look, I like a lot of interaction. If I start explaining something and it makes sense, raise your hands. 30% of the class, along with you, do not understand what it is I'm talking about. If you raise your hand, you become the hero, they buy you beer. Woohoo! Thanks for asking that question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Now, there's caveats to that, but honestly, if something doesn't make sense, don't just think that I'm the only one that doesn't get it. Sometimes I have to explain things 2 or 3 times because I explain it one way and it doesn't make sense to you, and I explain it another way and it will make sense to you. All right? So ask questions. When you're out of class, make a list of things that you don't understand so that you can ask questions later. All right? You can email me the simple questions like, I don't understand what this is. Blah, 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 blah. I can respond. I don't understand the digestive system. Okay, come and see me. I'm not there to chastise you. I don't think my students are dumb. Come and see me. I will help you so that when you walk out of my office, hopefully you've got it. All right? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Lastly, and this is a question everyone asks, do you give practice exams? Yes, I give old tests I have. I apply this as a courtesy. Here's the thing. Every semester I talk about different things. I go off on different tangents. I only test you on the material that I cover in class. I'm not going to find some little piece of information out of the textbook that you never read and ask you about it. If there's a question I somehow didn't cover in class, mistake. I will remove it from the test. All right? But the practice exams I can't guarantees with. They're old questions for a reason. All right? Too simple, too hard, or I don't cover them anymore. But you can look at them and see how I ask a question. All right? So use it as a tool to get used to my question styles. You can tell I use pretty simple language in the classroom, right? I write like a scientist. I apologize for that. I've just trained. All right? These practice exams should be the last thing you actually use. All right? So treat them as a tool at the very end of your studying. Do I understand the material? Don't use them as, these are the types of questions he will ask. I'm looking at these questions for. No. Just see, did I learn the material that I thought I was supposed to learn? Funny one. I don't even know why I go over this. Most of you have taken guest exams since the time, but you'd be surprised how many of you don't know how to take a multiple guess exam. So I go over it nonetheless. Rule number one, start at question number 1 or start at question number 50. I don't care which way you go. You work either down or you work keep a nice simple pattern. I like to start with number 1 because 1 is at the beginning, 50 is at the end. There's no order in terms of which question is difficult. So, but starting in the middle and just randomly picking questions just becomes confusing. When you go to CASA, ask for scratch paper and a pencil. They will supply it. All right? Why do we have scratch paper and pencil? Because we have all this information in our brain, and there are times when that information pops out. Just write that stuff down. First off, when you're going through the questions, you are going to look at the question and you're going to see if you know the answer off the top of your head. The color of the sky is, see, off your head. You knew the answer. All right? So you look through your list of answers. If you see blue, you mark the answer and you move on. If you don't see blue, you don't sit there and ponder. Move to question number 2. All right? Because you came up with an answer and you are bright. Information is stuck right here. It's just a matter of it coming out. So, skip the questions that cause you to pause and then go to through all the questions and then you come back to the top. First question you skipped, the color of the sky is, and you said the answer was blue. You didn't see blue in the answer, so you go through the answers. And this is where you're going to start thinking a little bit. And you go through the list of the answers and you answer cyan. You say to yourself, cyan and blue are synonymous. He's being tricksy. That's how you would think. That's when you go through. So anything that makes you think, you're going to go through that. Now again, if you find an answer, you just keep moving on. If you can't find the answer, skip. Save for round 3. Get rid of the answers that you think you know are wrong. I know it's not red. The color of the sky is not orange. I know the color of the sky is not green. I have no idea what these 2 answers are. I'll deal with them the next round. You go through round 3. Round 3, you finally get to those answers, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do that process of elimination. Oh, this one sounds more correct than that answer. That's when you start dealing with those, where you make the best guess. All right? So there should be an order. And by the time you go through this, round 1, round 2, about 15 minutes. You'll probably go through it. And round 3 and 4 will take you 15 minutes. Never ever mark an answer as possible. The moment that you do that, the moment you answer, you married yourself to that answer. You got to now figure out a way to talk yourself out of that answer. So if you don't know the answer, leave it blank. If you're not sure, leave it blank. If you think it's this one and maybe not that one, leave it blank. You'll deal with it at a later date. It's when you're checking your exam that you're going to start making your adjustments. Now, a lot of people think checking your exam means changing my answer to the wrong answer. 9 times out of 10, the answer you are picking is wrong. The color of the sky is blue. You know the answer is blue. Dotted blue. If you go outside right now and you look at the sky, what would it be? Gray. There's a qualifier there. Why is the sky gray? Cloud cover. It's cloudy. A real difficult thing. Now, I mean, honestly, you guys know that. I mean, that's not something that, I mean, he taught us in class. You know, when it's cloudy, the sky is gray. At sunset, the sky is red or orange. All right? Now, here's the thing. When you check your exam, you are going to want to look at the question and look just at your answer. Because you've learned a whole bunch of facts. All right? There are questions I'm not going to ever ask you on the exam. In other words, you're going to study more than there are actual questions to. And your brain, in its infinite wisdom, is going to try to figure out a way to shove that information into an exam. I learned this. I want to prove to you that I learned it. Get it out. So, if you look at a whole bunch of answers, the color of the sky is blue, green, gray, and orange. You're going to talk yourself into the gray and the orange answer. Well, you know he talked about me a question. I know he looked at me and he said, yes, you're right, it's cloudy. You know, oh, sunsets, yes, sunsets, they're orange. But what did the question ask? The color of the sky is blank. In other words, you are talking yourself out of the right answer, which you actually knew, into the dumb answer. All right? And I put trick around it because there is no trick. All right? You made the mistake, not me. Of the students who come to visit me to look at exams after, we're going, oh, your tests are so hard. Oh, really? Let's take a look at it. You know how many head slaps I see? Almost every single solitary question. Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Oh, what was I thinking? Oh, I can't believe that. Oh, wait, I didn't really know that one. Each question and just the answer you selected. If you answer the question correctly, leave it alone. The color is blue. Oh, great. The color of the sky is orange. You sit there and that is wrong. I'm going to now change the answer, and you're going to go through the answers and find the right one, knowing that orange is wrong. If your answer to the question does not answer the question, readdress the question. I had a student, and a lot of my exams were K-type questions. A and B are correct, B and C are correct, A and B and C are correct, none of them are correct. You know, all that really fun stuff that you guys are going to experience for the rest of your lives. Yes, I'm sorry, that's just the way it's done. All right? What's going to happen is you're going to, and I swear that I had a student come in and said, well, I know A is not correct. I wasn't sure about B. I wasn't sure about C. All right? And I saw that answer D and E was A and B, and A and B and C. Let me see if I got this. I know that A is not correct. All right, that's what I know, that A is not correct. Not A is correct. I know that A is not correct. I don't know about B, and I'm sure about C. So the choices were A and B, A and C. And so he chose like D. I said, but wait a second. You just told me you knew that A was not correct, so you chose the answer that had A in it. Yeah, I thought it was a trick question. A was not correct. Yeah. So why would A be in the answer? All right? Use your brains. All right? Read all your answer choices. All right? Don't talk yourself out of things you already know the answer to. I'm not trying to trick you on an exam. I'm trying to see if you know the information. All right? And that's really what I have to say about that. Now, look, I'm not trying to scare you all. Honestly, the class can be a lot of fun. There are going to be some really low, boring periods. I will promise you the next 10 or 15 minutes of class are probably going to be the low points. All right? Because I know everyone loves the first day of class because this is all stuff that you've seen at least before. Most of you have taken, and I mean, it should be all of you, most of you have taken Biology 101 and 102. 1361, 1362. There is nothing I'm going to teach today that you haven't seen before. And so this is what most of you are going to do, especially the back row back there. You're going to do this. All right? But for the 10 slides that we're going to cover for the remainder of the class, take that home, apply this, and try this. Trust me, it works. I'll give you an example. I had a D student who on the first 2 exams got Ds. Last 2 exams, did this, got top grades in the class, ended up with a B+ in the class. All right. I had a student who was consistently a C student, very, very bright, but could not figure out how to get it done. I taught her this method. Afterwards, top grades in the class. Usually if you study like this, it means 10 to 30 points, depending upon where you started for each exam grade. And if you have questions about it, you can ask me. All right. Now, I know I kind of rambled on for a while there. Usually I go about 10 minutes shorter than that. But what I want to talk about is basically just kind of give you some real basic stuff, because we're going to be dealing, most of the physiology we deal with is dealt with at the cellular level. And so we have to understand what we're really dealing with here. And so our body, as you've probably taught when you're probably 7 years old, is your body is made mostly of water. Right? You guys learned that at some point? Like 70% water, 90%. I can't remember what the value is. All right. But really, that water, that fluid, it's water with a whole bunch of stuff in it, is actually divided into a couple of compartments. So you can think of your body as being compartmentalized. All right. Now, our two compartments are real simple. We have things that are in cells and things that are out of cells. So the fluid is either going to be found inside the cell, in which case it's called intracellular fluid, and then we have things that are outside the cell, which is called extracellular fluid. The things that separate these two fluids, simply put, it's a cell membrane. Now, there are billions of cells in your body, so it's not that they're all that intracellular fluid is congruous. In other words, it's basically separated from each other's cell. But it's two compartments, one that's inside, one that's outside the cell. All right? Now, if you take that fluid that's outside the cell, that extracellular fluid, it's actually divided into two again. We have fluid that is called interstitial fluid, meaning sits in, and then we have fluid that we call plasma. The plasma is actually circulating. All right? In other words, the plasma is the fluid that makes up the fluid portion, constantly moving throughout the body. All right? So really, we have three separate compartments, and if you kind of look at the picture, you can see there we've got the blood, we've got the interstitial fluid, plasma, interstitial fluid, cellular. Where these two things are the extracellular fluid. Now, it gets boring. It deals with the plasma membrane. All right, so the cell membrane is basically plasma membrane, and it has a bunch of different functions. And a lot of the work that we're going to look at deals with how this actually plays a role. First off, the plasma membrane is responsible for physically isolating the materials from inside the cell to the outside the cell. In other words, it's that barrier that creates these two environments, this extracellular environment and this internal environment. It also creates an environment, isolates your body from the surrounding environment. All right? It's responsible for regulating the movement of materials between these two environments. And this is actually really important because it controls the movement of nutrients and waste, as well as the movement of ions, which basically undergirds everything that we do. All right? And also the movement of materials, how our bodies actually signal from one part of your body to the other. It's responsible for the communication, so the cellular products that are being released, some of these are signaling molecules. And so it decides when those materials are going to be released, and then those materials must be able to actually attach to something. And so there are proteins that are going to be found on the surface of cells that those signaling molecules can attach to, so that a signal can be sent from, say, your brain to one of your gonads. Oh, and I should mention, because, well, you're going to hear about it one way or the other, either now or tomorrow or the next week. I'm a reproductive biologist. So my first example in biology always jumps into reproduction. So just keep these. I also like endocrinology, so I always jump directly into that. It's just what I do. All right. So this is the way the cell actually communicates, is through the cell membrane. It's also a way that it actually monitors changes within the environment, and it's also a way that it actually responds. All right. If I were to touch here in front of me, this, oh, I forgot, this is sun right here. All right. This whole row, I like to use people as examples. All right. But if I were to touch you, you're monitoring your environment. You're recognizing, oh my God, he's touching me. Right? That's going to be done because of proteins found in the cell membrane. All right. And lastly, there are proteins within the inner surface of the cell membrane that actually serve as a structural molecule that makes the shape of the cell. It allows it to create junctions between, allows it to actually communicate even between cells. And so actually stabilizes the cell altogether. So the plasma membrane has multiple functions, and it actually is a little bit different. I like to think of it as a waterbed. But the technical answer is a fluid mosaic model is what it's called. And it's called fluid because it's like a waterbed. It has no rigidity to it, really. And it's mosaic because it has a whole bunch of different substances within it. So it's primarily made up of lipids, but there's also proteins that are going to be embedded within it, and they're going to be embedded on top of it. All right? Now, the number of lipids to proteins, there's an actual ratio that can be determined, and that ratio is going to be dependent upon the activity of the cell. I'm not going to ever ask you about that, but just so you know that when you're looking at a cell that's highly, highly active, chances are there's more proteins on the cell surface than there is on a cell that's sitting there placidly. All right? Now, if you were looking at the plasma membrane, so what we've done is we've taken two really poorly done examples, but there is a cut through the plasma membrane, so you have a little section. This is a crude drawing right here. And what you'll see is that it's actually arranged in what is called a bilayer. Layer 1, layer 2, bilayer. And it's arranged in such a way that we have hydrophilic heads, which we'll talk about. The little circles are arranged so that it faces the all right? So in our little picture here, this is outside the cell. This is inside the cell. This is not any part of the cell. This is part of the bilayer. All right? And so what you have out here is fluid. I'm putting water plus stuff. All right? And so those hydrophilic heads always face the water. The tails are hydrophobic. They're water-hating, and so they always are hidden away from the fluid. All right? They're not attracted to one another. They're basically hiding. All right? And then what we can see in our little picture over here is you can actually see the proteins that are actually embedded within, or they can be attached to the surface of the actual plasma membrane itself. This is what a phospholipid actually looks like. For those of you who've taken organic chemistry or biochemistry, you'll get to go into a lot more detail. We don't care. We like the little cartoon picture. Okay? But it's basically phospholipids, sphingolipids, and cholesterol. Those are the three types of lipids that make up the plasma membrane. Now, phospholipid, you can see it has fatty acid tails. Basically, it has a structure that is glycerol, a phosphate group, and then some sort of R, or random group that's associated with the phosphate. All right. So the glycerol, the phosphate, and the R group that is polar. That's the one that carries the charge. So that's what's attracted to water. Whereas the fatty acid tail, these are hydrophilic. The sphingolipids are very similar to phospholipids, except that the reason they're called sphingolipids originate from this type of amino acid. So there's actually a nitrogenous group in there right around where the glycerol would be. Okay? So I'm not going to ask you that. Just know that they're different than phospholipids. And instead of just being attached to the phosphate group, they also can be attached to glycerol directly. Or, excuse me, not glycerol, to a sugar chain. And that's what this picture right here shows you. Is here you can see the fatty acid tail. This would be the sphingo portion, and then the sugar is basically attached. The R group would be the sugar, and there'd be no phosphate in there. Now, cholesterol, which isn't as bad for you as everyone says, because you need it. All right? Very, very hydrophobic. All right? And so what it does is when you take cholesterol into your body, the first thing it does is it tries to find a way to get away from all the fluid that's in your body. And what it does is it inserts itself within the plasma membrane. So it basically hides in between the fatty acid tails. And in doing so, it creates a more rigid structure. All right? But it also creates more flexibility. In other words, it raises the temperature at which those cells will actually become rigid. And so what happens is when it inserts itself, what it's done is creates greater impermeability to water, and at the same time created that flexibility over that wider temperature. Now, just to give you a picture of this, have you ever taken pieces of wood, like toothpicks, stacked them? All right. Wood is really, or toothpicks are really simple. They're nice and straight. You can use pencils for an example. Pencils are really, really simple. You just put them and you can see that they nice packed really, really close together, right? About cis and trans bonds. If you haven't, Yeah, thank you. Gonna come back on that later. Yep. All right. Look at this fatty acid up here. Do you see the cis bond that causes that kink? In other words, the leg goes out like that. Now take a bunch of pencils or straws, the bendy straws, and try to stack them the same way as pencils do. Would you be able to get them all close together? No. And so, could you sneak things in straws if you had a whole bunch of straws? Yeah. And so water could actually sneak in between these phospholipids, but the cholesterol, because they're hydrophobic, and create basically a jam, and it prevents it from actually passing through. That's what I meant by making it impermeable to water. Now, in any sort of aqueous environment, phospholipids are going to automatically arrange so that polar heads come into contact with the aqueous environment. If you have very, very few phospholipids, they'll actually arrange themselves in what is called a mycel. Looks like that. See, not even a bilayer. They basically just create these little balls where you have the hydrophilic heads and the hydrophobic tails all associated with each other. You get a lot of them, you'll form liposomes. You have many more of those liposomes become very, very large. The next thing you know is you have a sheet which surrounds a larger structure, which eventually will become a cell. All right. So our cells are basically surrounded that look like a liposome, except they're very, very large. So we just refer to the plasma membrane as a sheet of or a bilayer, like so, of cells. Excuse me. Of lipids. Now, in terms of the proteins, they have special names for them. Now, in biology, you're going to learn this. Anyone here think that they're bad at language? I lived on the border for 20 years of my life. I speak about the first grade equivalency of Spanish. I can order food. Please call my parents, I'm in jail, type thing. All right? Biology is just a language. Biologists name things for what they look like. All right? Whichever comes first. This, and it reminds me of this, ergo I name it that. Or I see that this thing is doing this, ergo I'm going to name it because I see it doing this. And that's what we've done here. We have integral proteins, or transmembrane proteins, peripheral proteins, and lipid-anchored proteins. So it already tells you proteins have one of three functions. They're either stuck within the membrane, they're either associated, or they're attached to the membrane. So the integrals, which are passing through the membrane, they have a region within them that are hydrophobic. That's why they can actually sit in the membrane. All right? And so many of the proteins are actually classified based upon the number of times they pass through the membrane. The hormone receptors are have 7 transmembrane regions, just as an example. All right? On where they are going up and down through the membrane, you're going to see what they have are called loops. And those loops allow them to interact with other proteins and other molecules. And very often you'll find them attached to the cytoskeleton so that they become immobile. So they're not around. Because remember, this is a fluid model, so things can just kind of float around if they're not attached to anything. Peripheral proteins are just loosely attached to the surface or to the polar heads. So they can either be associated, there's not a good picture here. On the next slide I'll show you one that's attached to another protein, or they can be kind of attached to a protein, or excuse me, a lipid. All right? They fall into a whole bunch of different categories, but enzymatic would be one, or structural binding protein. We have lipid-anchored proteins, and the one that I actually circle here is lipid-anchored. See, right there? It actually has fatty acid tails associated with it. All right? Generally, these molecules, proteins, are going to be associated with sphingolipids. And what they do is they create these rafts, what we refer to as lipid rafts. And you can watch a lipid, and they really call them rafts because they literally float as a group, and it looks like a raft floating on water. All right? And there are many different molecules that are usually associated with this, and you can actually have a whole bunch of molecules come together simultaneously and create an interaction between cells. Yes?
So, what is usually on these lipid rafts? Are they usually receptor sites?
Some of them are receptor sites. Some are similar to Clathrin pits where they're actually taking in material. There's all sorts of different things that can be associated with them. And so that's why we're keeping it very, very general for right now. But you can just think of it in terms of there's just different types of proteins is what we're trying to look at. Okay. Other things that are associated with the membrane include carbohydrates. These are just sugar chains that are associated to the membrane proteins or the lipids themselves. And what they do is you find these on the external are serving biological markers. All right? In other words, proteins actually recognize the different structures, and so they actually recognize a particular structure, and that's how they know to associate. We refer to all of the sugars in toto as a glycocalyx, and the glycocalyx actually can serve as a protective layer. Some bacteria, even though we're not talking about bacteria, protect themselves from recognition from our immune system. They basically coat themselves in sugar, and so treat. All right, but basically it serves as a protective surface. And so you can imagine multiples. I mean, many of these proteins, many of these lipids are actually going to have these sugar moieties associated. This is going to be my last slide. Oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Well, maybe I will stop after this slide. All right. No, I'm going to stop here, just because I'm nice. All right. When we come back on Thursday, what we're going to do is we're going to look at homeostasis and we're going to look at the movement of molecules back and forth across this membrane. It'll be a lot of fun. Oh, if you can't get the VNet right now, you can come and see me and just give me